First of all, I would like to give thanks to the Institute and inviting me to participate in this seminar. I should speak in Spanish after Cardinal Oscar did it that way, but I'm not, I didn't think it was possible. Then I will speak in my terrible English to deal with some of the topics Jeffrey Sachs presented. About recent changes, two things emerge quite often. One is the positive aspects. I will talk a minute about them. And also the alarming aspects. Both things are there in the discussions. What could be new is the extremes in this discussion. From the positive side, I am impressed, and I think we could mention what the UNDP says, the rise of the South. The rise of the South is the emergence of countries from the South, and a change that is so new that they write, among other things, the following: the South as a whole is driving global economic growth and societal change for the first time in centuries. The South still needs the North, but the North also needs the South. Which means, therefore, that we are, after Centesimus Annus, observing something impressive, something of a surprise, caught us unaware. That is the first time in centuries that the South is entering into the scene in a significant manner. On the other hand, we have at the opposite end, and I will say a couple of terms that I collected from Jeffrey Sachs' recent book. The world economy is remarkably unequal and is remarkably threatening. Both things are there, therefore. The South, for the first time in history, emerging, and on the other hand, an economy that is extremely threatening and difficult to control. This extremist type of evaluation of what is happening is also leading to some positive statements in terms of not only the South, the countries of the South emerge, but also regions in the countries. Gini coefficients have been reduced in a lot of places, especially in Latin America. What we will do with these both types of evaluation? My main comment would be to make a little bit less optimistic in terms of the positive aspects, and to, yeah. Thank you. How should we evaluate the international scene? Let me read. Thank you. Let me read Tony Atkinson's sentence in his last book on inequality. While the gap is narrowing in relative terms, the differences in purchasing power are continuing to widen. China may be growing faster in percentage terms, but that growth applies to a much smaller base. As projected by the OECD, the absolute difference in income per head between China and the United States will widen until 2056. How do we measure the gaps? In relative terms or in absolute terms? The picture is quite different. In relative terms, narrowing gaps. In absolute terms, widening, at least for a while, and even in the case of China. What I would like, therefore, to say in this brief reaction to the part of the presentation, to the first part, basically, there are many topics in Jeff's presentation that I could not comment, is that we have to discuss how do we evaluate. And my main impression is that in spite of the emergent middle class, which is so common in the speeches and explanations of how it's happening, the reduction of poverty in the rural world, even there, poverty reduction, no doubt, has been happening. The new thing was, no doubt, that while the rich countries were in crisis, the poor countries were growing much faster, which is new. It was not common to find that. But I want to finish saying that the peripheries persist. The gaps in absolute terms still are and continue being as wide as ever. And that therefore, it's not that the growing middle class or the growing emerging countries reduce the significance of the peripheries at the world level. Therefore, I think Pope Francisco's persistent use of the peripheries as important elements to consider continue being as important as ever. Thank you.